So last year, right after the draft, I made a video entitled The 7 Best Drafts, in my opinion, of the 2022 NFL Draft. So I thought it could be fun to look back now a year removed and see which ones were I right about being high on and which ones were I wrong about and they actually were, bad drafts and I just didn't realize it at the time. Well, let's get into it. First off, I gave it to the Seattle Seahawks, which, ended up being very much right about this one as they had a great draft, which is interesting because their first two picks, really their first three picks, I didn't think, didn't fully, I guess the first two picks didn't work out. The third pick worked out, but it was a running back, which isn't that valuable, and I didn't love that pick at the time, but still, hey, valuable running back, there is value in that. Charles Cross and Boye Mafe, we're still waiting to see those guys work out. But then, Abraham Lucas has been a really good tackle for them. He's someone who, I had as a second round grade on. He went in the third round, but definitely performed like a first rounder his first season. The Kobe Bryant and Tariq Woolen cornerback situation, which both those guys were able to come in and contribute, especially Woolen. So, yeah, even with maybe some, I don't want to say misses, but some to be determines early on with Cross and Mafe, and even with spending a 41st overall pick on a running back, which I don't like, still love their draft. So, yeah, definitely in hindsight, this one has held up. The Ravens draft, one of the things I loved about the Ravens draft was just how many different players they got. Also, I meant to mention this earlier, but just what you're looking at, this one is a little bit different, but the column all the way to the left, the number there, that's when the player was selected, and then in this time it's parentheses, but the column, one over, that is going to be where they were on the consensus big board. So Kyle Hamilton was picked 14th overall on a consensus big board. He was 8th overall, and he looked like he could have been higher after that. I didn't love Hamilton coming into the draft, and I was wrong. Ravens were right, because they're always right when it comes to defensive backs. He's been very good. Linderbaum, who, hey, that's something I was right about. I love Linderbaum, and I was right about that. He was amazing as a rookie. Then you have, it's David Ajabo, not Davis Ajabo, but, him is a to be determined. Travis Jones did come in and, play some snaps, do some nice things. Isaiah Likely showed some flashes, so definitely a win for the Ravens. I had the Chiefs on my top 7 list, and thank God I did, because what a draft they had. I mean, we're talking historic levels of drafting by the Chiefs. Look at this list. Trent McDuffie, really good slot corner for them. George Karlaftis, a valuable rotational edge rusher for them. Sky Moore, who definitely made some plays in the receiving game. Brian Cook, who was a starting safety at times for them. Leo Chenal, who was a linebacker who got a ton of snaps and played well for them. Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson at the defensive back position, who did some nice things. Darian Kennard, who didn't play, but a lot of people like. You see he was 67th on the consensus big board, got selected 145th. He could come in and play well. Isaiah Pacheco, who I might have spelled his name wrong there, I believe I did, but he was a good, a starting running back for them, and even Nazeez Johnson ended up contributing special teams. This was an all-time great draft. Thank God I, wasn't stupid and put it on my top 7. Next up is the Eagles, and a big chunk of why the Eagles are on this is I loved the A.J. Brown trade at the time, and even me who loved that trade at the time, I didn't expect it to work out that well. I didn't expect them to, A.J. Brown to turn into like a top 5 receiver in football. I liked him, but I mean, he had a career year and stayed healthy too. That was a big thing. So that obviously worked. I'm interested in seeing what Nakobe Dean could do entering year 2 because he didn't get a ton of playing time. But again, 30th on the consensus big board, fell to 53rd. The Cam Jurgens pick was a bit of a, felt like a bit of a reach at the time, but, I think they feel fine about that selection now. Jordan Davis, who was, didn't do a ton his first year. He's never going to do a ton. He's never going to be a 700 snap guy, but that's not what they drafted him for. One trick pony who's good at that trick is kind of what I kept saying about him, and that was what he was his first year for sure. The Panthers made this list, and, this is one that you could say maybe didn't age perfectly, but I still would sit back and say they did the right thing here, where there was a lot of talk with the Panthers of, do they draft a quarterback at number 6? Because they need a quarterback. We all knew they needed a quarterback, but there wasn't really a first-round quarterback quality player on a draft is what we thought. Even Pickett, which probably would have been a fine pick in hindsight, we felt like that would have been too early at number 6. And the reason why we were all kind of fans of their draft was they got the best player available. Akeem Ekwonu, who was number 2 on the consensus big board, they were able to get him. and they still got a quarterback, traded up at 94 to get Matt Corral, who unfortunately got injured. I mean, that sucks that, like, they did the right thing, got the quarterback, took a flyer on him, and he gets hurt right away, and they're never going to use him. But, that's kind of the main thing that you like about it. It wasn't a historic draft, but given the capital, given the fact that they didn't have a pick for nearly 100 selections after pick number 6. They did the right thing, made sure they got a player, and this could have gone a lot worse for them. So maybe not a massive win in hindsight. Maybe there's, if I did a top 7 winners right now of last year's draft, maybe they fall off the list, but I'm still fine with what they did. The Detroit Lions were definitely someone who I was high on this. I liked Kirby Joseph a lot out of the draft. I liked Aiden Hutchinson a ton out of the draft. Everyone did. He was the consensus number 1 pick that they got at number 2. They felt good about that. They were happy the Jaguars did not select him. Jameson Williams, they traded up to get him, which was an interesting trade up for sure. And it's definitely something that was a bit of a surprise. But he's a to be determined. We still know about him, but it's other guys who I'm interested in what they do for the remainder of their career with the Lions. Josh Pascal, Malcolm Rodriguez, James Houston, guys, James Mitchell, plenty of guys. I'm just fascinated in what they do, moving forward here. And finally, the Indianapolis Colts, another one that I look at and say yeah, I'm happy I put this on the list, which is interesting because, a couple of what you could consider reaches, like Alec Pierce was 53rd selected, but on the consensus big board at number 70. I liked Alec Pierce a ton out of the draft, and I thought he showed flashes that I still feel like I like his potential. Now, was he consistent enough last year? No, he wasn't. You can see why he was kind of a later second-round pick, but still, definitely someone who I think can do some things. And the real reason why I'm hyped up about this draft still is the Bernhard Rainman pick, who, it's weird. So he was 43rd on the consensus big board. A lot of people felt like he's someone who, that's where he belongs, kind of a high second-round pick. I was really high on Raymond. I had him as a mid-first rounder. I thought he was really good, had great analytics, and I was just a fan of him. He fell all the way to 77, so I thought, man, I must just be stupid and bad at this. But he actually ended up playing really good as a rookie. He was one of the better tackles. He looked like what I expected him to look like. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know why, he wasn't even the first tackle taken in his, off his college team. So I don't get what exactly went wrong there, why he wasn't selected, why teams were so low on him. But certainly in hindsight, this is a great draft by the Colts, who, again, you got to take into account what was the draft capital they had. They didn't have a first-round pick because they traded for Carson Wentz, so they were in a tough spot, but they were still able to get a first-round quality player in Rainman and a second-round quality player in Alec Pierce, along with a couple other guys who were interesting. But it's those 2 picks that I'm really excited about for the Colts. But yeah, that's my thought. What are yours? What do you think about all of this? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.